last-minute shopping. So's Congress. But here's the difference. You have a budget, Congress doesn't. And Congress just got caught trying to put $100 billion on our credit card. How long does $100 billion last? Probably all year, right? No. 2.5 months. And then they do it all again. Look at this. Look how many pages this is. It's 1,500 pages. They released it last night. We're supposed to read it and vote on it today. But no one read it. Except us. They tried to write into law that no one's allowed to look at Congress's emails. So if I get a subpoena, you get a subpoena, we have to hand our emails over. But Congress, if they get a subpoena, they don't have to. So if Trump wants to investigate the January 6th committee to find out what happened, you can't see the politicians' emails. If Nancy's texting Paulie P about investment opportunities, no one's allowed to see it. Congress just tried to write a law that puts them above the law. I thought no one was above the law. Didn't they say that all last year? Congress is also funding a censorship program. They're giving money to the State Department to censor things that they don't like online. We're funding Congress to take away our free speech. And remember, vax mandates. They're back. Congress is funding more vax mandates. You know, for the next pandemic. The section of the bill is called Pandemic Preparedness. Gain of function, you know, the risky experiments that flew out of Wuhan and killed 1 million of us. Congress is trying to fund gain of function research again. I'm sure not here in America. I'm sure we funded it to some other country like Ukraine or China, somewhere in Africa. Oh, no, 12 new biolabs that won't leak, they swear. $3 million to test the inspection of molasses. Not to test the molasses, to inspect the inspectors. Have we been having trouble with bad molasses? Was there a molasses recall that I missed? Instead of inspecting the inspectors, why don't the first line of inspectors just do their job? $15 million to make recycling more accessible. It's not accessible now. Everywhere you look, there's a blue bin. When you throw something out, like 5 different little bins, and you're analyzing what goes in which one. Does this go in this bin? This recycling all goes to the same place anyway. Half the plastics in landfills. And $100 million goes to migrant farm workers. Why don't the farms pay the migrants? Not sure. Gavin's vineyard needs us to pay his migrants to pick his grapes. He's not making enough money from wine. He needs a subsidy. Why are we paying for Gavin Newsom to get paid? He can't get paid without our help. Must not be very good wine. But I'm willing to test it if he sends me some. And this is a 5-year, $100 million contract. Once this thing passes, Doge can't touch it. Oh, and they're keeping Kamala's electric bus program. Kamala lost, but her earmark didn't. And sexy memes. Yeah, here's a sexy Jesse deepfake. I look good, but I don't look that good. I guess people have been putting AOC's face on bikini models in the group chat. Well, Congress says you can't make us look too hot, or you're going to prison. Memes are a crime. Oh, and the bill's also woke. It changes the term offender to justice-involved individual, and homeless to an individual experiencing homelessness. Who wrote this bill? The Republicans have the majority. I swear to God, the squad wrote this thing. Doesn't stop there. Remember Obamacare? You hate it, right? So does Congress. But now Congress gets to opt out of Obamacare. You're not allowed to opt out. Congress, the people who wrote Obamacare into law, they don't like it. So they're opting out of it. They deserve more. Congress is trying to give themselves a raise.
Members are giving themselves a pay raise. Do you guys deserve a pay raise?
Well, that's news to me. It's good news.
People look at the performance of Congress saying, why should we give them more money?
What about the media? Think about that for a second.
And we're not paid by public money.
I know you're not, but I mean, half of your listeners are not there anymore. You're still getting the same paycheck? What's going on?
Congress is giving themselves a $6,000. The cost of living gone up because of Congress? Congress is trying to give themselves a raise to keep up with the cost of living that they caused because they spent so much. Elon Musk all over it, and it lit a fire under the politicians.
It says a sandwich. I don't know how else to say that. We're being forced into this position.
Swamp's gonna swamp, right? Since we do something different, since we've been given the majority again, we're adding 330 billion in literally totally unpaid for additional deficit spending just since November 5th in 45 days. I don't see how that's doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're just fundamentally unserious about spending. As long as you got a blank check, you can't shrink government. If you can't shrink government, you can't live free.
The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, says he had no choice.
Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together, and I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight. They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either. We got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the decks, and we are setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the America First agenda.
Clearing the decks? What does that mean? I don't know what clearing the decks means. They keep saying this is going to stop, and every year they say, this is the last time we're going to do this. And then every year they do it again. And now people aren't too happy with Mike.
You already know.
Johnson overboard like they did with McCarthy. Then what? Everyone they make speaker spends money. Do we have to bring back Newt? Trump put out a statement. If Republicans try to pass a clean, continuing resolution without all the Democrat bells and whistles that will be so destructive to our country, all it will do after January 20th is bring the mess of the debt limit into the Trump administration, rather than allowing it to take place in the Biden administration. Any Republican that would be so stupid as to do this should and will be primaried. Everything should be done and fully negotiated prior to my taking office on January 20th, 2025. So guess what just happened? Republicans just scrapped the spending bill and are going to have to pull an all-nighter. They have until Friday at midnight to vote on a new bill, or the government shuts down for Christmas. Now, what does it mean when the government shuts down? I don't know. Everybody last second. And they try to pull a fast one, they get caught, they whine about Christmas and promise they won't do it again, and it's the same thing every time. Trump won because Democrats caused inflation. And now Republicans, with the help of Democrats, are causing inflation before they go on vacation.
Narrow margin. And the truth is, a bunch of the guys who are complaining will never vote yes. I mean, if Mike Johnson, there are probably 15 Republicans who wake up every morning and say, I know I'm going to vote no, what's the issue? Now, I think if those would line up with Johnson and say, we will vote for a very tough CR and mean it, I think he could pass something that was quite strong.
So are you saying it's all these like Freedom Caucus guys that are just saying no, no, no? Or is it the rest of this crew who's just feeding this thing full of pork in the shadows?
Look, I mean, first of all, dealing with the Senate's a world of its own. But just inside the House, if the Freedom Caucus members, all of them, because the margin is so narrow, you can't give up anybody. If they would come together and say, we're going to pass a Republican-only, very strict, very tight continuing resolution, and they would get it out of the House with Republican-only votes, you could have a dramatically thinner, more practical,
right.
and less
So
disgusting bill.
Speaker, you're saying if Republicans can't stick together now, and we're going...
And Ramaswamy and Musk and others are going to have to go and work the Republican conference, get them to understand they need 100% on every key vote, period. And that's just the price of doing it. And then strip out all the garbage.
What if they just go to a retreat? You guys have your retreats, right? You go to like some fancy hotel and you all get drunk.
But I go to a retreat in HC5 in the Capitol, and I wouldn't let people out till they all said yes.
Right. Why can't he get a little Republican summit together, lock the doors, serve drinks, make some threats, do some horse trading, say, I need everybody in for the next 2 years. I don't want to hear any garbage out of anybody, or else I'm gonna do something, which I can't say. Why can't that work?
Look,
do they need to bring you in there?
I think if Speaker Johnson could convince President Trump and Vice President Vance and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to come up and literally have an all day long, let's sit in the room together with all the Republicans. Now let's everybody agree we're going to do the best we can with a dramatically thinned down thing. If they can't do that, frankly, I think they ought to pass a clean CR, have nothing on it, except keep the government open for 30 or 40 days until the Republicans gain control of the Senate.
Yeah.
But
Well,
frankly, if you got to negotiate with Chuck Schumer, by the way, you'll notice
Yeah.
that President Biden is nowhere to be seen.
no.
He's gone.
He's gone.
The functioning president of the United States today is Donald Trump because the other guy left.
All right. Well.